Hey guys, so we're back. Today we're going to be doing the big three on the Scion TC, the upgrade to the battery cables, and we're actually going to be doing the big four because I'm also doing the starter to battery as well as the two grounds and the alternator cable. Upgrading the alternator because on the alternator the stud is too small to accept any more connections to it. So that one is going to need to be upgraded, and I have a new alternator here. This one is an upgraded 150 amp alternator, and you can see it's got a much bigger stud and more room to put rings on there. So what I'll be doing is leaving the existing one and adding one to the alternator. So I had to loosen the belt, so I'll show all that in just a moment. But some of the tools that you're going to need, I recommend a wrench set and a socket set, maybe a couple extensions too. I think I'll only be using these three, the 10, the 12, and the 13, but it's always good to have more because you never know what you're going to need. The screwdriver, I use that just to remove the belt, so if you're not replacing the alternator, you won't necessarily need that. And the pry bar, oh goodness, I think the pry bar, what I got is to pry the alternator out because the bracket is the ground, so it's actually really tight. So I may need to pry the old alternator to get it out. And then the bar here, this one is to pull the tensioner. And if you're doing the tensioner, keep in mind on this vehicle, the Scion TC, it has a hydraulic tensioner, and other vehicles do too. And with a hydraulic tensioner, it's not the same as a spring tensioner, because if you just crank on it like you would a spring tensioner, you'll actually damage it. So when you pull it, you want to do it slow in about 3 to 5 seconds so that the fluid can go through slowly. The knife or the snips there is for stripping the wire. You could also use some snips like this. You can use these to strip the wire. I just feel like there's more control with one of these. This is a real good way to cut the wire. You could use some side cutters, but this keeps it real nice and straight on the end, keeps it from flattening out. A heat gun I'm going to use for shrink wrap because I'm not going to leave the strands exposed like they are now. I'm going to shrink wrap everything and make it look real nice and professional custom. Extension cord I'll need. This here is a hydraulic crimping tool, and this is definitely the way to go. There's other ways that you can connect your connectors, but this one here comes with all different size. You can use this on just about any size wire you need, and the power on this thing is amazing. It's a lot of fun to use, and it gives you a nice solid cold weld to the cable, so that to the wire from the connectors. So definitely a good idea. And since you're doing electrical, rubber coated gloves is always a good idea, but definitely make sure you keep the battery disconnected and try not to touch a positive and a negative. A couple rags just in case, because, well, for mine it's a little dirty. I got my alternator there. These are just some accessories. This is a heat shield. I also have conduit, I'm not really sure what you call it exactly. Wire loom, sorry. I have wire loom too, but I'm going to put this on there because it looks real nice. And that's like 3 feet long, so should cover the whole alternator cable. And then this is a fuse that I'm going to put on the alternator cable because it's that 150 amp alternator, whereas the original I think is 90 or 110. This one I'm going to put a 150 amp fuse in here, and this is a holder, and it's a real nice holder. It's got a couple screws holes so you can mount it. If you mount it into metal, I'd put a piece of rubber over the screws there, just, you know, keep any possibility of arcing. I don't know if that would actually happen, but it comes with these little connectors, but I'm not going to be using those. I'll just take it directly in, most likely. I don't know, maybe I'll look up and see if I can find a video on how these actually work there, because it seems a little strange. But I am using 4-gauge wire. If you're going to be running stereo, you know, maybe you want to go 2-gauge. But I have some pieces cut. I only have 3 of them. I have the battery to the frame, and the battery to the engine, and the alternator cable. But I do have lots of extra. You definitely want to get extra, because who knows, you might make a mistake, and yeah, if you don't have the wire, then you're going to be sitting for a while waiting. These are my new battery clamps. The existing ones, obviously, you're not going to be able to attach the connectors to them, so I got new ones here that have wing nuts. These are tinned brass, and brass is a much better connector than I don't know what they use, zinc or something, I think. But in any case, these are Anchor, and the tin on it keeps it corrosion resistant, while the brass is a good conductor. And they each come with a couple different wing nuts and a couple nuts. And let's see, I don't see the part number on there, but if anybody needs them, I can share the link in the comments. So those two, and then these are some connectors that I got. I did actually get a set, but I ran out of them, and these are, of course, tin. These are tinned copper, not tin brass, but copper. So these are even better conductor. And the tin, again, is going to keep it from corroding. So the reason I have this extra set here is because I ran out of this particular size doing a friend's vehicle. And you can also get copper ones like this, but generally the way to go is going to be to get a set, and if you need an extra size, then you just get more of that size. And this comes with shrink wrap, red and black, so it's real nice, and just about any size you could need. And it's not just 4-gauge, it's a whole bunch of different random sizes. And let's see, tape. I also have some loom tape that's kind of a cloth tape. I'll bring that out in a minute. I forgot to get that. But shrink wrap. This is another set of shrink wrap. This one's real nice because it's got just about any size you could possibly need. And even on the back, it has a coding for which size they are. And there's a lot of different sizes. So if you don't get shrink wrap with whatever connectors you get, you can always get one of these and you'll have shrink wrap for the rest of your life. Nylon zip ties. Get nylon because they're more heat resistant. And then, of course, the wire loom. And that pretty much wraps up the tools. So I'm going to go ahead and get set up to show you where I'm going to be routing everything. And I'll be back in just a moment. Okay guys, so this is what I was talking about, the cloth tape. This is called Tessa tape, and it's like a cloth type material. It works really well. When you pull it off the roll, it doesn't feel sticky, but it sticks to itself really, really well. So that you definitely need for the loom. You want to do that pretty frequently. You could use just zip ties, but putting the Tessa tape on there makes it look a lot better. So the 4 cables we're going to be replacing is this here. Comes down and separates in 2. One of them comes over here. You can see underneath the battery tray. That's your battery to chassis ground, or the frame. So that one we're going to replace. That comes up there and to the battery, and that one ties in with the starter. I mean, not the starter, goes underneath the starter, but it ties in with the battery to block ground. On this one you can't see it because it's really tucked up underneath the starter there, so we're going to need to remove the starter to get to that one. But on the Scion TC, This one doesn't go to the block, it goes to the transmission housing. And then the transmission case to the block, that bell housing there, that's going to be a ground path for the engine. So if you take the transmission out, you always want to make sure that surface is real clean and there's no corrosion on there, so that has a good ground path. And also the bracket for the alternator is the same way. That's the ground for the alternator, and it's real tight. So the other two, well, on this, if you pull the piece up, and then you can slide these up and down to separate them. This piece you can pop off of here, but the original cable that comes to the positive here, this one's got a fusible link in it, and it comes around the side over here and to the fuse panel. So that one we don't want to mess with. That one we're just going to basically transfer over to the new post and leave it as is, because that fusible link starts real close. The other ones would be the two positive. They come down in that loom together and they come back, and it's kind of hard to tell, but they weave around the back there, and one of them breaks off and comes to the starter. So we're going to replace that one to the starter, but instead of wrapping it all around needlessly, I'm just going to drop it straight down below it and then loop up and come back right to the battery. For the alternator, that'll come from the battery as well, and it will go around here. The existing alternator one also comes through the fuse box. So that one's going to be left alone, hooked on both ends, and then the one that goes to the alternator weaves back underneath and along the back of the engine and down here. So I'm going to be going from the battery down and underneath, and then kind of hop up over this hose here and attach to this loom along the back here underneath that hose, and then kind of loop wide around the corner here, and then attach to this loom, coming all the way down to my new alternator, which will be here, and have both lines connected. And the alternator line, the new one I'm going to be putting in, I'll be putting a fuse in somewhere either down below or off to the side. I'm not real sure yet, but the fuse you want to have within 6 inches or a foot of the battery. The closer the better. I think maybe I covered it all, except for what we're going to remove. The air box here is going to come out. It's just kind of in the way, and this whole ducting all the way back to the throttle body we're going to remove, which is that big clamp there. We're going to remove that little clamp and pull that off. This one here, if I can disconnect it at the hose there, I will do that so I can leave it in place so I know where my routing up over will be. But that one you can also disconnect here at the valve cover. That will get out of there, and on the other end of that line that's coming across the top here, you're going to pull that off the bottom of this little valve here, and that's your evap purge valve. So disconnect the bottom one, and also with maybe a screwdriver or something, you got to pop it off at the bracket here where it's mounted, not bracket, but where it's mounted to the ducting here. I'm forgetting what it's called, but in any case, those will remove. And then also the battery and the battery tray underneath. That'll make it easy for us to get to the ground point under there, and it just gets us out of the gets it out of the way so that we can get to the starter and the transmission ground back there a little easier. Other than that, I think that's really all that needs to be removed. Hopefully I can get the alternator in and out of here without removing anything, and hopefully that was all the tools that I need. But if I do need something else as I go through it, I'll make sure I give you that so that you're prepared. So you might want to watch this all the way through before you do it. But I think that's it. Go ahead and get started. I'll show you how I'm gonna line up the cables and make sure that I get the connectors the right way, because I don't want it to come up to the battery and my connector to be this way. I want it to be this way so I don't have to twist it, because if I twist it, it's going to put strain on that cable. So let me grab one of the cables and I'll be right back. One other thing, guys, if you might need your vehicle, make sure you don't start cutting these wires before you're done. Disconnect them, make your new cables, and once you have all your cables cut and your plan all ready to go, then you can cut out the old ones if you're not going to use them. You could just use them in tandem as an alternate path, but if yours look like mine, where they've got that green or white corrosion in there, it's really just better to get rid of them and get new stuff, plus it looks a lot cleaner in my opinion. And I'll be right back. Okay, so also one thing I wanted to go into is, why even do this? The whole point of this is that your battery to the engine and the frame is one leg of the circuit. The other leg are your positive cables. So you need a good quality cables without corrosion inside, so that you have enough ampacity or capacity for amperage. Amperage is basically your quantity of your voltage. If not enough can pass through, then you'll start having problems with all different kinds of components. You'll get ghost electrical issues, and you'll have electrical issues happening on different systems. And a lot of times things will happen where your starter won't start, and so you replace the starter because you think the starter is bad, but the cable is the issue, because not enough power is getting to the starter. So when you replace the starter, it works again, and the reason that it works again is because you don't have a partially worn starter. You have a new starter, so that starter will work until it wears to the point of the old one, or maybe a little less, because the cable's going to degrade still. So you end up replacing a part again in a short period of time, and you feel like the part you bought was just a junk part, when in actuality the culprit was these guys right here. And grounds are the big one. Usually the grounds are the ones that have the most issue, because you see they protect the positive, and at the starter it's protected with a rubber cap, and at the alternator rubber cap. So usually if you're just going to replace any, just replace the grounds. If you don't want to replace them all. So hopefully that covered it, and I'll go back to where I said I was going. Okay, so I'm going to start with cutting the starter cable, because I already have the other three cut, and this I can kind of demonstrate to you. If you see, I have it placed in there. It's kind of looping down to come back up. You want to have it in the orientation where the cable's natural bend kind of guides it, so that you have the least resistance, because any harsh bends, you're going to lose some flow there. So have some resistance. And resistance in electrical is bad, unless that's what you're looking for in some specific case. But basically, you don't want that. So when you cut these, go extra on the length. You can't really see it because it fell back in there, but I have enough to come up to the nut there. And then up here, I'm going to go a little past it, where you see I notched it there, so that I have extra, because you may strip it back and need to go back a little further, or whatever. Just make sure you cut it long enough, and then have extra here. So basically I'm just gonna snip right along here. Let's see if I can do this one-handed. And you can see when it cuts through, it's real easy, and it keeps it round, so you're not with a flat cable, for the most part. But And you can see this is nice high strand copper cable, and this one is also tinned copper. Get a real high strand count, and if you can, tinned copper, otherwise pure copper. So I'll also post a link in the comments where I bought my wire, because it was really reasonably priced and nice high quality stuff, and even made in the USA. So I'll be right back and I'll show you how we're gonna line up these connectors. Okay guys, so the connectors is gonna wait. I'm gonna go ahead and pull the stuff that I need to pull. So for the battery, I pulled the cables. Those are a 10 millimeter if you have this vehicle, and this top one here is a 12 millimeter. I did disconnect this top one here first because it's really tight, and getting it with this cable off would be extremely difficult. So if you got the Scion TC, make sure you bust that free first, and any other vehicles that's got something like that, go for that one first. So then I pulled those off, and I needed to loosen these two screws over here. Those are the battery hold down. So to get the battery out, we have to pull those, and they just unscrew, and then the bars stay either inside the battery mounting bracket down there, or you can just kind of pop them out to the side. They're just hooked in there. I like to pop them out and then just leave the whole top part together. And then we'll go ahead and pull the battery out once we get those, and make sure you disconnect this little clip here. And a cool little trick that my brother-in-law showed me is that for these ones that pop in here, some of them will be an 8 millimeter, some will be a 10 millimeter, but if you just slide the socket over the top and press down and then push the wire away, it pops right off, and it's super simple. So nice little trick. I appreciate that, Ron. And then I'm going to go ahead and pull the air box. And one thing I forgot to mention is this connector here on your mass airflow sensor. Make sure you disconnect that one too, because that's going to stay in here when we take all this out. And the air box, these two clips pop, and then once you get those popped, this will pop up, and you can disconnect it here and pull it out after that connector is removed. And then inside the air box, pull out the air filter, and I believe there are 3 bolts underneath that, so I'll come back when I get there. And your air filter is probably not going to look the same. This is a K&N. It's a reusable air filter that you just clean and oil. They're really nice, gives your car some breathing ability. So I'll be back shortly after I pull all this top stuff here and the battery. Okay guys, so I got the battery out, just those two nuts on top, and then kind of maneuvering it through the handle of the battery. One other thing I wanted to show, this, when I get all done on all of these connections, I'm going to coat the outside with this silicone lubricant. You can use dielectric grease, but this is what I use. It's the same as what I use on my brakes. It's also a silicone grease. So for the battery tray, you've got 1 bolt back there, 1 here, and then these 2 up in the front, and that'll pull that out. Before that, you've got the hold down bracket. If you can see, I just took them back to the top of the stud, and then you can pull them off to the side. That releases the hook, and then just for the top of the battery, getting it through here, just kind of tilt it, and then kind of rotate it around through the handle from one side. And then once you get that out, the battery tray too just lifts out. And on the battery, just to dispel a myth, you'll see it's on the concrete. A lot of people say that you can't do that, that it'll discharge the battery. And you know, early 1900s that was true, but it's just not true today. The cases are isolated, so nothing's gonna leak through there. You could put it on concrete, you could put it on dirt, wood, whatever you want, but keep it clean and it'll be okay. I don't like to put it in the dirt because it'll get dirty, but the biggest thing would be to keep it charged if you're going to be storing it long term. And the top of the case here, you want to keep clean of any electrolyte or the battery fluid that gets up there. You'll see it'll be real dirty and greasy looking. Mine's kind of white because I cleaned mine with baking soda. A little light baking soda solution works real well, but I just didn't clean it off too well. But anywhere that is difficult to reach, a toothbrush works real well. So on, oh boy, I think that was it there. Just getting a little lost here, but I'll go ahead and pull the battery tray and the air box and this whatever it's called, the tubing that goes from the air box to the throttle body. I'll pull that too, and I'll be right back.